It's not working, girls. It's not over here on this screen. Oh, they're absent. Okay. Record the roll, please. Thank you. Announcements, staff.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. First of all, the Zoning Ordinance Steering Committee is going to be meeting on next week on August 16th. I think we've heard from everybody but Bob Ring. He's planning to attend. Secondly, back last week on the 31st, we had a community meeting in Leapers Fork to discuss the draft zoning ordinance standards. We feel like we're going to be moving forward with that in fairly short order. Thirdly, Grassland Special Area Plan, we're starting to kick off that dialogue. Just this past week, we've sent postcards and placed on the county's website requesting volunteers that would like to sit on this committee, and we hope to be bringing a series of names forward the next month or so. And finally, something of a sad note, Tom Neal, former county commissioner and former member of this body, passed away this week. Our condolences to his family. And other than that, Mr. Chairman, I have nothing else.
Thank you, sir. Consideration of the minutes of July 12, 2012. Any corrections? Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Prepare to vote. Vote now. Recorded vote. Motion carries. Thank you. Old business, Joe, is there old business?
No, sir.
None. There is no old business. Consideration of the consent agenda. Any commissioner wishing to pull an item for separate discussion, please say so now. Otherwise, we'll take it as a whole. Anyone? Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We begin with item 3, Bell Chase, Section 1, maintenance bond for roads, drainage, and erosion control, extended current amount for a period of 6 months. Item 4, Bell Chase, Section 2, maintenance bond for roads, drainage, and erosion control, $66,000. Recommendation, extended current amount for 6 months. Item 5, Bell Vista, Sections 1 and 2, maintenance bond for wastewater collection system, $54,427. Recommendation, release the bond. Item 6, Brins Valley, Section 3, maintenance bond for roads, drainage, and erosion control, $20,000. Recommendation, extended current amount for a period of 6 months. Item 7, Kings Chapel, Section 2A, maintenance bond for sewer collection system, $11,500. Recommendation, extended current amount for a period of 1 year. And finally, item 8, Parish Presbyterian Church, performance bond for landscaping, $8,466. Recommendation, convert to maintenance amount of $2,500 for a period of 6 months. Now dropping down to item 10, final plats. Final plat review for Chardonnay Section 4 containing 15 lots on 23.34 acres located off Clovercroft Road in the 4th voting district. Staff recommends approval of this plat subject to the following stipulations. 1, the posting of performance bond in the amount of $224,000 for roads, drainage, and erosion control. 2, the posting of a maintenance bond in the amount of $60,500 for water improvements as specified by Millcroft and Utility District. 3, the posting of performance bond in the amount of $40,700 for wastewater collection system. 4, execution of a stormwater maintenance agreement and submission of operation and maintenance plan for stormwater improvements. And 5, that the applicant provide 2 copies of approved final plat in DWG format on recordable media based on the Tennessee State Plane Coordinate System prior to signature and recording of this final plat.
Thank you, sir. Motion on consent agenda. Second. Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Prepare to vote. Vote now. Go to vote. Motion carries. Thank you. Presentation of agenda items, starting with those of you in the audience, our public hearings are as follows. Staff will make a presentation of the agenda item. At its conclusion, you'll be invited to come to the podium and give us your comments. If you would, at that time, add your name and address. We would appreciate it. Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A site plan for this development was originally approved at the February 2007 meeting. The applicant is now requesting approval of a revised site plan in order to add 50 lots to the development, which would bring the total lot count to 128. When the original site plan was approved, the development was restricted to 78 lots due to roadway capacity issues, and it was stipulated that additional lots could only be approved upon completion of a set of improvements to McEwen Drive, which were then planned by the City of Franklin and which were projected to be completed in 2010. At that time, the applicant expressed an intention to request approval of a revised site plan for additional lots once those improvements were completed. The roadway improvements referenced in the original approval included the following. Phase 1 and 2 was construction of the I-65 McEwen Drive interchange and the roadway construction of McEwen Drive from Carruthers Parkway to Mallory Lane. Phase 3, construction of McEwen Drive from Carruthers Parkway to the roundabout at Cool Springs Boulevard. And Phase 4, reconstruction of McEwen Drive from Cool Springs Boulevard to Wilson Pike from its current status as a two-lane undivided roadway to a two-lane divided roadway with a median. Phases 1 through 3 of these improvements have already been completed. However, Phase 4 has not been completed and is not currently a funded project. It should be noted that the applicant has already made a number of significant contributions to the area roadway network, including widening travel lanes and adding shoulders on Wilson Pike between Clovercroft Road and Wilson Pike, installing left and right turn lanes on Clovercroft Road at the side entrance, and the reservation of a 120-foot right-of-way to facilitate TDOT's long-term plans for the realignment of Wilson Pike to the east side of the railroad. A new traffic signal and turn lane improvements have also been constructed at the intersection of Clovercroft Road and Wilson Pike, and temporary signalization has been installed at the intersection of Wilson Pike and McEwen Drive. These improvements have been undertaken with construction of Clovercroft School. Additionally, Williamson County School Board is contributing $1 million toward the construction of a permanent traffic signal and other intersection improvements at the intersection of Wilson Pike and McEwen Drive. An analysis conducted by the applicant indicates that an unacceptable level of service will occur at the intersection of Wilson Pike and McEwen Drive, but that the intersection will operate at acceptable levels once the permanent signalization and associated improvements are completed. The county's traffic consultant has reviewed this analysis, concurred with its findings, and recommended approval of this revised site plan with the condition that no final plats for any additional lots beyond the 78 currently approved be submitted until a bid has been awarded by the City of Franklin for these intersection improvements. The revised site plan adds 50 lots to the southern end of the development in a portion of the site that was labeled as future development on the original site plan. Proposed lots are similar in size to existing lots within the development. Water is to be provided by McCrofton Utility District. A non-traditional wastewater treatment system was constructed in conjunction with the first section of the development, and the capacity of that system is sufficient to handle the additional lots proposed. This revised site plan identifies additional areas for wastewater disposal, and the combination of existing and proposed disposal areas are also sufficient to serve the additional lots. Staff recommends approval of the revised site plan. The following items must be addressed with future submittals. The preliminary plat must address the following. 1. Submission of road, drainage, and erosion control plans for review and approval by the county engineer. 2. Submission of water plans for review and approval by the McCrofton Utility District. 3. Submission of construction plans for wastewater disposal areas to TDEC, the county's consultant, and staff. 4. Verification by a licensed geologist or geotechnical engineer of the extent and locations of sinkholes on the property. And 5. Identification of critical lots as appropriate, demonstrating protection of the requisite percentage of natural resources. The final plat must address the following. 1. Prior to final plat submittal, construction of the wastewater disposal system sufficient to serve the number of lots proposed must be completed and approved by TDEC, and certification by the design engineer that construction has been completed in accordance with approved plans must be submitted. 2. Prior to the submittal of a final plat for any additional lots beyond the 78 initially approved, a bid shall be awarded by the City of Franklin for the construction of the Wilson Pike McEwen Drive intersection improvements in accordance with the recommendation by the county's traffic engineer. 3, establishment of a performance bond for roads, drainage, and erosion control. 4, establishment of a performance bond for water improvements in favor of the Crofton Utility District. 5, establishment of performance bonds for the wastewater disposal system and wastewater collection system. 6, submission of landscaping plans and establishment of appropriate performance bonds for landscaping. 7, execution of a stormwater maintenance agreement and submission of an operation and maintenance plan for stormwater improvements. And 8, submission of the approved final plat in DWG format on recordable media based on the Tennessee State Plan coordinate system prior to signature and recording of the plat.
Thank you, sir. Public hearing this time. If you wish to make a comment, you're invited to come to the podium and give us your thoughts. Don't rush me now. Yes.
I'm Kathy Weber, and I live at 1900 Springcroft Drive in Worthington. And just getting communications and talking with the planning, talking with Mike, we understand that the road access has already been given to the development on the beginning of the development for that access to Wilson Pike close to the tunnel. And we just want to make sure that, you understand that the traffic has increased. And the people now, because of the McEwen and Cool Springs issue in the city of Franklin, they are avoiding coming east on McEwen to go to Wilson Pike, and they're going straight on through past Publix over to Clovercroft to come through that tunnel. And I mean, I'm glad to know after looking at the plan now that it's going to be 500 feet up and not just 40 feet up from the tunnel. But they just want you to know the difficult situation that we're in with the traffic there with the one-way underpass, and ask for your consideration to, think of what we can do to make it better and safer for everyone in that area. There's been a couple accidents recently, and I know the sheriff was just down there tonight monitoring traffic as I was coming through. So we just want you to know about those concerns and hope that you can work with the community to keep it safe. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else?
I'm Cheryl Wilson, representing representing the 4th District. Living at 1907 Green Hills Boulevard, which is Worthington subdivision, and basically backs up to a portion east side of that development. And the project, I'm understanding it better. I do think that, at first I was thinking most of the traffic would be coming down, guess that's Chardonnay Drive, which is the main entrance. We have a lot of children, of course, and the school system has done a great job in order for them to have a crosswalk there. The light is good. But again, the main thing is we wanted to know that there was a second entrance that would initially be done at a later time. A lot of residents were concerned that that one drive would be the only way that they would come, be able to come out. And I understand now that we would have that further down the road there. Also, I think there was mentioned a possibility of a walking park that would be a trail back through there that would actually back up to my house probably, and some other areas down around Worthington. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but main thing, development looks good, and that was the only thing I had to say, was that I just wanted to make sure that traffic flow would be good and people would be able to, as we all know, the underpasses have been a problem. Oh, how long, Pete? How long have our underpasses been having grown up out there? But it's always been a problem, and I know that at some point TDOT will address the situation. I'm glad they were able to grant that designated area for around CSX Railroad. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Don McKeeby. I live at 1932 Wilson Pike, about 200-300 yards north of the tunnel. There's 3 houses there before you get to Clovercroft. I heard Kathy say that the permit to come onto Wilson Pike's already been approved, but you guys don't approve that. That's a state approval, correct?
What permit are you referring
To
to?
go onto Wilson Pike by the tunnel. That's a state road, so you guys can't approve that, correct? Isn't that something the state would have to approve?
It's a state project. Is that what
Right.
you mean?
Yeah, so can they build their driveway before they do the improvements to Wilson is my question.
Yes, please.
Thanks for the opportunity, because I was going to want to address this anyway. My understanding, and the applicant, please correct me if I'm wrong, but the Wilson Pike improvements, I think, are a long-range plan of TDOT's. It's not something that is imminent. It's not something that we know is going to happen for sure. Now, this applicant has offered to dedicate a 120-foot strip for the length of their property, about 3,000 feet, to facilitate that project should it become a funded project by TDOT. And if the realigned Wilson Pike is constructed, this site plan shows a couple of additional entrance points that would come out on that realigned Wilson Pike. But I think those would only be constructed if that project goes forward.
Okay, that was one of my questions, because if it wasn't, then I would have a problem with 50 or whatever more houses being dumped onto Wilson Pike. And to back up what Kathy said about the traffic going around to Clovercroft past Publix, I came home tonight at 5:15, turned left on McEwen from Cool Springs, and immediately came to a stop. They were backed up all the way from Wilson Pike to Cool Springs. So I did like everybody else did. I did a U-turn in First Street, went over to Clovercroft, and back through the tunnel.
Is that
Which
since
wasn't a lot better, but
is that since they changed the stop there at the roundabout deal? Is that?
nah, it's just more people are getting used to using McEwen and Clovercroft.
From the interstate?
Yeah, from the interstate, and the businesses around Cool Springs, Nissan. I assume a lot of those people live out that way. A lot of them are coming to different parts of McKay's Mills that are off of McEwen. Yeah, I don't know where they're all coming from or going to, but there was that many cars at 5:15.
Wow.
So, what's that, 2-mile stretch? So, that's our biggest concern is traffic. That the road signs, which is a TDOT issue, still aren't the best to keep trucks from going down to the tunnel and having to turn around in our driveways a lot of times, which we've got signs of, but it doesn't always work. I've yelled at quite a few truck drivers, so had to have a semi did a U-turn in my yard. I mean, that's how bad it is down there. So it's just something we needed you guys to know. I know it's a state road, but I wanted that cleared up as to who gives them permission and when it will take place. But it's good to know that it won't happen until the other improvements are done. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening. My name is David Code, and I'm with the firm of Kimley Horn and Associates, representing the applicant tonight. I appreciate the opportunity to come and address any comments that you've gotten from the commission itself and the general public. We are in full agreement with the staff comments. I would like to make one comment, Mike, based on the roadway access. Our plan does show for a second access onto the existing Wilson Pike, approximately 500 feet away from the tunnel itself. It's the furthest point that we could make. That access would require the state to give us a curb cut permit for that access road, but it would be that second entrance into the subdivision itself. Once the completion of the widening for the Wilson Pike through the 120 feet, as you appropriately said, that we're donating to the county and to TDOT, once that is completed, we would have one other additional. But the secondary access would be having one access on Clovercroft and one on Wilson Pike with the completion of the 50 lots, but it wouldn't take place until such time. I'd be glad to answer any other questions you might have. Yes, sir.
Kent? Anyone? We'll close the public hearing at this time. Anyone wishing to ask a question of the applicant or of staff, please do so. Jack?
Report, we talked about phase 1 and 2, 3, and phase 4, which hasn't been done yet, and I believe currently is not funded. But then on the back of that page, we talk about an analysis was done by the applicant. Are they, in this paragraph here, which is the 1, 2, 3, I guess the third new paragraph on the back page, are they referring to that phase 4? Is that, for my clarification, or before they can submit the final plat, they would have to reconstruction of McEwen Drive from Cool Springs Boulevard to
No,
Wilson
no.
Pike?
I don't think that's the case, is it, Mike?
No, sir. The phase 4 that I referred to, the report refers to on the first page, is a project that Franklin was planning back when the original site
Right.
plan was approved. And that phase 4, I think, has been shelved for the time being by the city of Franklin. It's no longer funded. So it's a separate issue. That was just kind of restating what was thought to be the improvements back in 2007. The analysis done recently by the applicant was an evaluation of the impact of these 50 additional lots on the roadway network. And the conclusion was that with the improvements that are planned for the intersection of Wilson Pike and McEwen Drive, which include permanent signalization and some turn lane improvements, those will, upon completion, then that intersection will operate at an acceptable level of service.
And that is a City of Franklin project?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You heard a lot of comments out in Clover Harf area about that any more development would not be foreseeable until they get McEwen repaired from Wilson Pike west. That little narrow strip, and I don't know when it's going to get done, because you know how these City of Franklin projects are, it could be pushed up. And then there's a lot of people concerned about coming through the tunnel where they have the temporary driveway now. How's it going to be constructed to keep it from being a backlog of people there? It's a problem, and the temporary signalization and changing it to permanent signalization at McEwen and Wilson Pike, I don't see how that's going to change the traffic movement much at all. Because as the gentleman said, sometimes it's backed up 50, 75 to 100 cars from Wilson Pike on McEwen Lane.
Anyone else? Thank you, Pete. Anyone else? Questions of the...
Just to clear it up in my mind, this road coming out on Wilson Pike, is that going to be built before the rest of the improvements are made? The one you talked about 500 feet from the tunnel?
Our plan shows a connection to the existing Wilson Pike roadway system. It would be moved to our eastern area, 500 feet away from the existing tunnel underpass. That access drive would be completed based on the city's or the county's approval, based on the completion of the 50 lots, the additional 50 lots. So we will do that so that this subdivision has 2 access points for emergency access and distribution of the traffic from the subdivision itself.
But is it contingent on the road work completion, or?
No, we would go ahead and complete that based on the final plat and the final construction plans approved by this body.
Are there any plans of any signalization, and if you do that?
Not at that intersection itself. In regards to the improvements at the McEwen and the Wilson Pike, there are turn lanes that are going to be a part of those improvements. And the school board has put up $1 million for those improvements to be in place. So there will be other improvements, turn lanes, and a permanent signal. It will be a widening of the bridge over the railroad itself, so that the entire system up through the railroad and on the other side will be ready for additional improvements by Franklin on McEwen. McEwen has had, in this phase 4, improvements made to the shoulders and all, but their next phase is to actually widen the road with still 2 lanes of traffic, one in either direction with a median. So even their next phase of McEwen will not add that much capacity to the McEwen itself, but it will allow it to be set up for future 4-lane widening. So the bridge that they're building over the railroad track is being completed so it can handle the final build out in 20 years or so of a divided median on McEwen with 2 lanes in both directions. But on Wilson Pike, left turn lanes on the McEwen, right turn lanes on McEwen will be a part of the signalization and the widening of the bridge over the CSX Railroad. All of that is scheduled right now to begin before October the 26th. All the paperwork and all the design plans have been done. They're waiting on the last signatures from CSX to begin. And so all those improvements are hoping to be out to bid and started prior to the end of this year. And that's through conversations we've had with the City of Franklin.
But everything we're talking about is up at McEwen. My concern is back towards the tunnel on Wilson Pike from that part going up. There'll be no improvements there.
No, sir. When we started this in 2007, we spent $1 million on Wilson Pike improvements going from Clovercroft up to McEwen with the shoulder widening and all. At that point in time, we showed the overall development, which you're voting on tonight to complete it, and we did show that we were going to dedicate the 120 feet for 3,000 linear feet, about 8 acres, to the county and PDOT for the completion of Wilson Pike adjacent to our property. But those are the only improvements that we've agreed to at this point in time.
Thank you.
I'm going to go back to your timing again on your second entrance. What was the timing?
The timing of that would be with the completion of the 50 lots and allowing us to have a secondary access into the subdivision. Because we'll be over.
Are you going to start when you finish the 50th lot? Are you going to finish by the 50th lot? Or
I think that's based on the acceptance of staff here and our.
that's not part of this document?
It is a part of our approval that there will be a secondary access. We haven't locked down exactly when you would like to see that access, but our goal was to have that access completed with the final plat for the last of the lots for this 50 addition, so that those residents in this new section will have a secondary access.
So you're amenable to a part of a motion to include that the second access be completed before you apply for the final plat of that subsequent 50 lots? Is that?
It was, we will be turning in the plans and the designs to have it completed with that section.
I just want to make sure we've got our timing agreed to. It needs to be a part of a motion if you concur. Any other questions, the applicant? Any further discussion? Motion? Discussion then. There's not a motion. This is going to die for lack of a motion.
Well, I'll speak for myself. I'm just uncomfortable on the timeline and what they're trying to do. And because I was told this afternoon they weren't going to do the road to Wilson Pike until Wilson Pike was widened.
Say again, Jack, I misunderstood.
Yeah, your mics aren't
The-
working or something.
Hello? Can you not hear that? I'm about to bite the end off of it right now.
I thought it was me.
I just did.
Hear anything? No.
light up here says it's on. We'll yell. Be patient with us. Jack, go ahead.
I guess my concern or confusion is when they're going to build the entranceway into Wilson Pike.
The second entrance to Chardonnay.
Yes.
That's what I was
thought,
just discussing.
Well, I know, and that's my confusion, because I thought they weren't going to do it until Wilson Pike, TDOT did what they were going to do to Wilson Pike.
To replace the underpass?
Yes. But now, the way I understand,
Well, that could be-
they're going to do it pretty darn quick.
I could be pushing up grass before they get that done.
Yeah, I understand.
If I may address,
Go ahead.
from our standpoint, we're looking at accessibility in and out of the subdivision. From the county standpoint, if that's a part of the motion, we can accept that part of the motion if you would like for that not to be connected until such time. Our goal would be able to have the design done, improvements ready to go at such time that the county feels it's appropriate to add that excess. So
Well,
that's not.
I mean, what does the traffic pattern say? Will that help the traffic or hurt the traffic? And I guess that's the bottom question.
It comes out to what intersection that you're talking about on traffic. If that connection is not made, there's a little more traffic at the intersection of our subdivision with Clovercroft. At the end of the day, it all comes through the Wilson Pike and goes to McEwen for that intersection, and those improvements are being planned for now, have already been paid for, and we're just waiting for construction to build.
When is your estimated completion of the
We're
50 homes?
We're still building homes in the current phases as they are. So this next section, we'll probably take the next 50 into two small sections, about 25 lots each. We don't anticipate beginning on that section until next year, where homes wouldn't be for sale until at least this time next year, at the earliest. It's all based on home sales in the market area. We are seeing an increase, which we appreciate. But we are not at the point in time ready to open either section. The design work has not been done, so construction plans and engineering plans have to be done and approved by the county engineer. Then we'll have to put it out to bid and get contractors. So at the earliest, none of those improvements coming back for any of it for a final would be till the fall of next year.
All right, thank you.
My concern isn't the flow in and out of the subdivision. My concern is when the traffic hits Wilson Pike. And I understand about the bridge not being replaced and everything, but improvements between McEwen and the new entrance. When the traffic all hits, it just stops out there on Wilson Pike, and it seems to me this will make it worse. And if somebody can straighten me out on that, I'd appreciate it.
Well, when we came in 2007 and we did the improvements that you're currently seeing on Wilson Pike, we were at the same situation. Those improvements need to be made. At that point in time, we had already made the agreement that we would give this additional land for the future extension of Wilson Pike. So we came back and agreed to spending $1 million for the improvements that you're seeing out there currently. With the school's improvements at the intersection, which is going to include left turn lanes from Wilson Pike onto McEwen, as well as right turn lanes, and a permanent signalization and the widening of that bridge.
Stop just a second. You said on to McEwen?
On Wilson Pike, there'll be a left turn lane going to McEwen Drive.
Across the old bridge?
Yeah, across a brand new bridge that'll be widened out for the final cross section of McEwen, which will be 2 lanes in each direction.
In the schedule there?
The bridge work and the improvements on Wilson Pike, which includes these turn lanes, is the part that's already been approved, it already has the money appropriated, already has construction plans done, and they're waiting for the final signatures from CSX to actually put it out to bid. The scheduled date for that is October 26th, because that was the time frame the school put on it. We do understand that they are still waiting on the final signed agreements from CSX, and from the city engineering standpoint, he hopes to have it put to bid by the end of this year with a 9-month, 12-month scheduled completion. So those improvements that aren't out there today at this intersection will be made within the next year. Those improvements show that with the addition of what we're doing to our adding 50 lots in our subdivision, that we will meet the current design standards that we need on Wilson Pike as far as the traffic goes.
Does the second entrance make any difference to meeting that condition?
No, sir.
Mr. Tocknell, could you join us at the podium for a minute?
Yes, sir.
What's your opinion of this second entrance value to the traffic flow on Wilson Pike?
Well, I mean, it can't hurt, but the capacity
It
analysis
didn't
is,
sound very technical to me. It can't hurt.
the analysis is based on a single access.
Okay.
So,
It functions above standard as a single access from over on the Clover Crop.
that's correct. The analysis didn't address a second entrance.
But your judgment would it would be better?
I think 2 is always better than 1,
Okay.
but the analysis shows that it would work with just 1.
I understand. That's what I wanted to know. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Any other questions? Comments? This is a conditional use. We do need a motion one way or the other. You can vote for it, against it, or defer it.
If I may, earlier we talked about, again, I get back to, unclear. Do we make a motion to include when they were going to put that second entrance in?
Yes, sir, you can include that in your motion. I wish you would. I'd like to have that written down somewhere.
Well, and I would make that motion, but I don't know what that date is or.
It would be tied to the lots. I mean, you could tie it to the
Yeah,
lots, Jack, to the recording of the, you gonna do 2 plats on the 50 lots?
We would do 2, or it can be tied to the completion of Wilson Pike so that we
Initiate
can...
that construction at the beginning of the recording of the second plat, second phase of whatever you call this phase now. Would be one way to do that.
Well.
Am I confusing you?
Yeah, well,
I
and
don't
I just don't know how to put it in words with what we're trying to do, but that, I will make that motion.
The motion would be that the applicant would initiate construction of the second entrance of the subdivision at the recording of the second 25 lots in the new phase. The 26th lot. We can say it that way.
Okay.
In addition to
right,
the other
yes,
staff recommendations, of course. Does that
Yeah,
help?
that helps.
Okay.
I'll make that motion.
And that includes staff's recommendation.
Correct.
Thank you. Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? We clear?
Yes, sir.
That's correct. We clear? We have a motion and a second. Prepare to vote. Vote now. Record the vote. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you. Agenda item 11 was on consent. Agenda item 12 is a variance request, Grove, excuse me, Grove Park Addition, Section 1, Lot 210. Staff? Pardon? I thought it was on. Oh, 10 was on. I'm sorry. Marked the wrong one. Item 11, final plat review for Ivan Creek. Reapproval containing 58 lots on 127.76 acres located off Padenville Road in the 3rd voting district. Staff?
The revised final plat was approved by this body at the June 2012 meeting. However, the plat was not recorded and has since expired. The applicant is now requesting reapproval of the plat, which is identical in layout to that previously approved. The final plat is in order and staff recommends approval.
there a second? Good, thank you. Any further discussion? Prepare to vote. Vote now. Record the vote. Motion carries. Thank you. And item 12, for the second time, variance request, Grove Park Addition, Section 1, Lot 210. Staff?
The final plat was approved by the Planning Commission, containing 18 lots on 149.62 acres. A letter of credit for completion of the roads, drainage, and erosion control was posted in the amount of $193,000. The letter of credit was posted by Southern Development Group, LLC, the developer, from Tennessee Commerce Bank. Tennessee Commerce Bank failed in early 2012, and the FDIC was appointed receiver. The developer was given certified notice of the bank failure and was required to file a replacement surety. The developer failed to post replacement surety and has yet to respond to any attempts at communication from the county attorney for planning and environment. As a result, the Planning Commission declared Grove Park's Addition Section 1 in default. A notice of default was executed by the Secretary of the Planning Commission on May 11, 2012, and recorded in the Register of Deeds office on the same day. A certified letter advising the property owners in Grove Park Addition Section 1 of the default was sent on May 25, 2012. Of the 18 total lots, 10 lots have residences constructed or under construction, 4 are owned by the bank/FDIC, and 4 are owned by private owners and are vacant. Of the 4 vacant properties privately owned, only 1 lot owner has indicated that they were on the verge of seeking building permit approval. As you will recall, a declaration of default requires that no new building permits be issued in that section until the default is lifted, according to Section 4.12C of the subdivision regulations. The Planning Commission has the authority to grant a variance from the strict application of the subdivision regulations where said request meets the requirements for a variance. Mr. and Mrs. Garrison are seeking a variance from the default, thus allowing them to receive a building permit where all other zoning and code requirements are otherwise met, and move forward with the construction of their home. Based upon the facts, staff concurs with this request. On October 21, 2010, the Garrisons purchased Lot 210 in Grove Park Addition, Section 1, with the intent of starting construction of a new residence thereon as soon as their home in Franklin sold. On November 30, 2010, the home in Franklin was listed for sale. On May 7, 2012, a contract for the purchase and sale of the Franklin home was executed. On or about May 25, 2010, the Garrisons received the notice letter from the county attorney regarding the default declaration. At that time, due to the contract for purchase and sale, the Garrisons had no choice but to proceed with the closing on the sale of their Franklin home. Further, the Garrisons had already made arrangements for temporary housing while their new residence was under construction. On June 8, 2012, they closed on the sale of their Franklin home and soon thereafter moved into their temporary housing, for which they have a lease agreement until November 30, 2012. In the interim, their son will begin school in the school zone in which the Garrisons resided while in their Franklin home, which is the same school zone for Lot 210, but not the same school zone for their temporary housing. The Garrisons have unique circumstances in that they relied upon the availability in Grove Park, and as a result sold their residence and made certain movements toward constructing their new residence on Lot 210. They are presumably 30 to 60 days from breaking ground on their new home on Lot 210 if they have the ability to apply for and receive a building permit. The Garrisons are aware of the incomplete condition of the roads, drainage, and erosion control improvements, and are aware that there is not a resolution as of yet related to completion of those improvements. Even assuming the status of these improvements, the Garrisons wish to receive a variance so that they may construct their home on Lot 210. Given the totality of the unique circumstances and the documentation attached to this report, staff concurs with the request for a variance and recommends approval of the variance with the following conditions. 1, that the building permit application be filed no later than 90 days from this variance approval. And 2, that the Garrison sign a statement prepared by the county attorney for planning and environment that will be a condition of the issuance of the building permit whereby the garrisons agree and confirm, A, that the garrisons are aware of the conditions of the road drainage and erosion control improvements, B, that the improvements are not public improvements and may never be, C, that the county is not responsible for the completion or maintenance of these improvements, and D, that the garrisons will indemnify and hold the county, its staff, and planning commission harmless for any loss, claims, damages, costs, and attorney's fees for injuries or damages arising in whole or in part from the incomplete condition of the roads, drainage, and erosion control, and or the negligent or intentional acts or omissions of landowner and or their employees and or agents, including its sub or independent contractors. And just a couple of additional items, Mr. Chairman. First, I believe the applicant, Mrs. Garrison, is in attendance, and should you have questions, I believe she could respond to those. And then also, I just want to let you know that of the 4 lots that the report refers to as owned by the bank, 2 of those have now been transferred to private property owners.
Anyone have questions of the applicant? Garrisons? What you're thinking about that. William, have you inspected this lately? Yes. Help me out with, describe for me or paint me a picture of the condition of the roads. I haven't been in there. I don't know where this is.
As far as the roads themselves, the asphalt binder is in place. It's still in pretty decent condition. And with regard to the drainage, there are no huge drainage issues, some with a detention pond associated with the site. And really that's about it. The development as far as the road infrastructure and the drainage at this time is in pretty good condition.
Accessible off of the main road?
Yes, sir. It is accessible.
Any drainage impacting this lot?
None that I know of.
Jack?
Is this different than the one we talked about last month? Or is this the same one? Did we not do one, just same one?
I wasn't here, Jack. Did we?
Yeah.
Same
okay.
lot? What happened last time?
Well, and I thought we voted to do that last
To
month.
bring it up at this meeting.
Oh, okay, all right, well,
Good.
can't remember everything.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. The question I have, now that 2 lots have been sold, can they not build on that, or are they gonna come in and ask for a variance too? And would we grant that?
Christie?
Likely not. I mean, if they ask the question, then we would have to present it to you. But like we discussed before and in the report, the unique circumstances surrounding this lot, I'm not aware of on any of the other lots. One of those lots that the bank transferred happened after the notice of the default. The other one happened right before. And like we've discussed before, there are a couple of other private property owners who own lots, but they're not on the cusp of a building permit. The ones that I've talked to, and then these folks that just bought these lots aren't either. I mean, this information's been out there for quite some time, and we're aware of the nature of the bank failure when they bought it from the foreclosed bank. So one of the banks bought some of the assets from Tennessee Commerce Bank. 2 of these lots were those assets, and they transferred them, and the information was already out there. So, again, people can ask the question for a variance, but I don't know that staff would be willing to even support the request like we are this one because of the unique circumstances that the garrisons found themselves in.
Well, and I would support the garrisons in this, what we've got in front of us, but I guess my concern is that, and I don't know if HUD or somebody ends up with these lots through the FDIC and they sell them, they typically sell them at a discount. And as a realtor, how are you going to find out that they can't build a home? I mean,
The notice of default is on the Register of Deeds office, and it shows up in the chain of title.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it will come up through title.
So they
Okay.
if they don't know, they didn't get a title search.
Yeah, okay, well, and hopefully everybody would do that.
And I hope to hear from the FDIC in the next 30 days. They said 60 to 90, 75 days ago or so.
Okay, well, and I've sold some of those HUD properties, not vacant land, but I know people try to file liens on them, and when HUD gets them, it clears the slate. So I just didn't know where we stood on that.
No, these were purchased or assumed by Republic Bank, the ones that I'm talking about. I don't know if the FDIC may have in combination on one, but Republic bought some of the assets from Tennessee Commerce, and they're another bank in Kentucky. And that's who transferred these to. And I
Okay.
think they still have one of them.
All right. Thank you.
Other comments, questions? Do you have any questions, Ms. Garrison?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? I hear none. Prepare to vote. Vote now. Record the vote. Motion carries. Thank you. Agenda item 13, election of officers. We need to elect a chairman, a vice chairman, a secretary, and a secretary pro tem. Start with chairman. Any nominations?
Mr. Chairman, I'll nominate John Lackey as chairman.
Thank you. I just broke my knee on the computer under here. That hurt.
People pass up or all?
Yeah.
Did we have a second for that? I'm sorry, guys. Pardon? Motion made and seconded. Any further nominations? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Vice Chairman, nominations are open. Mr. Crohan.
Mr. Chairman, I nominate Don Crowe.
Nomination is second. Any further nominations? All in favor of Mr. Crohan for Vice Chairman, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Nominations for Secretary. And that is Mr. Matheson.
He does a good job.
We have a motion and a second. Any further nominations for Secretary? I hear none. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Nominations for Secretary Pro Tem. Mr. Holmes.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further nominations? All in favor of Mr. Holmes for Secretary Pro Tem, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. Any other business? I hear none. We are adjourned. Thank you.